Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me now? Damn, sitting here talking to myself. Let's see if this works. All right, testing, testing, testing. I don't know what happened to OBS, but this should be working now. I see my mic meter jumping up and down. Perfect. All right, so let me start this again. Edgar, good morning. Nancy, good morning. Skyzen, good morning. Nick Cassidy, good morning. LM, good morning. Stephen Hawkins, good morning. All Your Base, good morning. JR, good morning. A little bit of troubleshooting this morning. Foolish Snowboarder, good morning. There we go. Angel, Stu, good morning. G Money, let's go. Gentry, good morning. Angelica, good morning. All right, so we got the sound working. As I was saying, the jobless report numbers came in at 218 versus a 200, so a slight negative there. We do wait till around 8:35 to get this thing started, and then we'll start with the market sentiment, what the market's doing, what we've been doing, and kind of what to look forward going into today. And then we'll go over a few of the free alerts. If you guys are here early in the morning, I do appreciate it. Go ahead and smash that like button. I know some of you guys on the West Coast are up bright and early, 5:30 a.m. to get this thing started. So let's get this thing going. Go ahead and smash that like button if you guys are here. Perfect. So it looks like audio is working again. I was noticing I'm talking to myself for the first 4 or 5 minutes and my microphone bar is not jumping up and down. So good thing we fixed that early on. Perfect. I was almost throwing my phone. Good morning, good morning. Marjan, good morning. Legit Movers Chicago, good morning again. Rayhan, good morning. Perfect. I think I got all the good mornings in. We're going to wait about a minute here and get everybody to kind of tune in. Then we'll get started, man. We'll get right to it. All right. So, it's 8:35. Let's get going and let's talk about the SPY. All right, so we'll start with what's been happening. So we got that aggressive sell-off. We hit that 385 area. We got that buying pressure coming back in, and we came back into this resistance area. I would have really liked that 405 to kind of reject before we rolled over. Would have put us in a better position. As technical traders coming into resistance, selling off, it would have been a lot better. But because we popped above and put in this hammer, I think they tricked a lot of people in thinking, all right, bullish hammer above old resistance, which is now support. I think they caught a lot of people here, where a lot of charts also looked like they were kind of breaking out. And because of this bullish technical that was put in here, I think a lot of people got caught on the long side. And yesterday's price action, obviously, we opened up at a continuous sell-off. So ideally, we rejected that 405 area again, right? It's an area that we fought a few times in a row, rejected a few times in a row. So it was a very clear area of resistance. We sold off, and the next area that we were looking at was this, 385 area. It's this prior low sitting back at May 12th. All right. If we lose this area, we fully complete this H that I kind of always talk about, right? We have this sell-off, we pop up, and we're coming back down, and that low right there is going to be our H that we actually put in. And if that breaks, then see you later. We got room to go down, right? So let's take a look at the closer time frame. But before I do that, let's zoom out and tell you why these levels are where they are, okay? So obviously, we can see that under this 385, 383 level, the next big support really is sitting at this 372. So this is going to be a vital area today to pay attention to. But let's take a closer look at the 15-minute time frame, and let's see what we're looking at doing here, okay? So let me go to my defaults. Perfect. So these are the levels I have. All right. Now, there's lots of levels. That's why I kind of clean it up for you guys when I show you. This is essentially what my charts look like. But this 389 was a level that we were paying attention to. Obviously, that level held yesterday in the after hours. And then we broke under it. And look where we bounced, the 385 that I was mentioning. Right? 385. and then we popped back up and retested the 389.50, and now we're selling off again. So what are we looking at today? Today's price action for me needs to get under this 385 level, essentially the level I'm watching, okay? It's going to be a big level. If we lose this level, you're going to look for pull downs into the 381, 378 area, and possibly 376, okay? So that's the key level I'm watching today, the 385 level. This level right here is going to be vital. We have pre-market support right there. Now, if we do hold this, we could see that retest of this 389.50 again, right? We had a retest in the pre-market here. Now, if we do hold and push, we're gonna see that retest again. If this breaks, we're looking at 392, 394, and I would, at this point, be very cautious trying to chase longs into today's price action if we do get above this level. It will be a little bit extended. Now, if we do get above this, we could see 396, but that's as high as I expect the SPY to kind of push in today's price action if we're going to get back above this 389.50. Okay. Now, obviously, if we lose 385.84, we're looking for downside targets of 381, and then ultimately that 378, 376 area. Okay. So a key area that we're sitting at, showed it to you on the daily. So kind of vital area. We'll pay attention to this 385.84. Okay. Now let's pop back to the Qs and take a look at what the Qs are doing. All right, Qs. Put this on clean chart. All right, Qs. So very similar look again here. Let me put this bigger time frame. So very similar look. Again, we have that sell-off that took place. We popped up, and now we're kind of rolling over again. So the price level on this candle right here is sitting at 285. Okay. Now let's zoom out and look to the left and see where our next area of support is going to be. Right. So if we're looking to the left here, the next area of support is right here. And then what happens here is actually critical, because if you take a look at this, there is a essentially gap right here. See that little gap there? So from 280 until essentially this little top of this candle right here, you have a little bit of a gap, right? So that's something that I'm going to be paying attention to today as well. All right, so let's go back to where we are. We're sitting at 285 essentially. Let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame and take a look at what's going on there. Perfect. So here we are. That 285 level is sitting right here, right from that daily chart that we talked about. We've lost this 289, came close to this 285, bounced very similar price action to the SPY, and now seeing some resistance at this 289 level. Okay, so what am I looking at with the Qs? I'm looking at this 284, 285 level. If we snap this, we come down to this 280. Now this is the area that it's going to be really vital. With tech names being relatively weak across the board in the past few months, if this 280 gets lost, you do enter that gap fill towards that 276.40 area. Okay, now the Qs has this gap, but the SPY doesn't. So something to make note of. If we lose 280.36, we could very easily fill that gap towards that 276, 275 area. Okay, so again with the Qs, I'm looking at this 285. 284 level to see how we react at the open, and if we're going to sell off and continue stair stepping downwards. Now if we hold and push back above this 289, great. We're looking at targets of 292, 294, and possibly 297. Okay, so as I always recommend, go ahead and screenshot these levels. These levels have kind of been something that I live by. They've proven themselves over and over again, so I always have them, and they always come into play at all times. So if you want to take a screenshot of them, you're more than welcome to. And also when this video does end, it plays back, so you can go back and get the SPY levels if you wish as well. All right, now with that said, let's jump into some of the tickers I'm looking today for the free alerts. First one is TWLO, Twilio. This one had an inside day yesterday, so I'm keeping an eye on this one, and I'm looking to see what's going to happen at that 96.30 level. Okay, 96.30. It's already broken down essentially. Actually, here it broke down, so I'm looking to buy puts under this 96.30 level. Right, it already broke down. So what do we do here? We have to wait for a pop back into this resistance area and see how it holds up. If we're still weak and if we're seeing some rejection, then I'll get involved on the puts and take advantage of the move down. I really prefer the move to the downside a lot more, because if we take a look at the daily here, you do have an inside day. That 96.40 level is an area on the daily that if you break, you do have room to come down. So that's why I'm keeping an eye on this one. It did break that 96.40. So if it does pop back up and show some weakness, I will look to take advantage of this. Obviously, if the market's still weak, to roll this over down towards that 92.91 area. Okay. On the upside, it really has to get above 97.50, and to me, that's not really that big of a trigger point. I would wait to see if we get strength, and if we do, then you can take the 97.50 for a push into the 98, 99 area. But the better play on this one would be on the downside, as the daily chart has room to kind of fall, right? You have these two areas, these 2 days with support. You break that, there's really not much else support on the daily until this 87.67, which we could essentially call a pocket and get that move down into that pocket as well. Okay. Next one is RNG. So RNG, this one, again, you can see on the daily. The reason why these are coming up on my scans, guys, is because I'm noticing a key level here. That 59 level is that support on RNG. If we break that, next area down is sitting at 49.50. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of paying attention to again today. So I think price action, there's not much volume here to see where price action is actually going to open up at. But if we open above 59 and we start triggering down below it, great. I would love to take advantage of this and bring this down. Probably see 56, 55, and maybe even 54 on the way down. The next daily support is sitting at exactly at that psychological round number at 50 as well. So want to pay attention to this. You can see last few days price action, that 59 level is a key level. So if we lose that, I'll be looking to take advantage of the puts on this one. All right, if we do get above 61, you could try the calls. Again, you would need a strong market. You would need the market to get back above those 389.50s or that 289 on the Qs in order to take advantage of some calls. But again, I prefer the downside move on this, as there is more room on the daily for this thing to kind of fall. Next one is HD. So let's pull up HD. Let's take a look at the daily chart. So what are we seeing on HD again? This 280 level it seems to be a level that had support before. We bounced off of it, saw resistance into this area of congestion, coming back down, essentially kind of putting in a little bit of an H again. So 280 is that level I'm watching on HD for the downside move. If we get under that 280 level, I'll look to take advantage of this to the downside. Obviously, again, we would need market weakness to see this. However, although we have a lot of price action in the spine, the Qs in the pre-market, HD has not really moved much. So something to make a note of. If we do see relative weakness in HD against the market and the Qs, then great, I'll take advantage of that too. Okay. For calls, you have to get above this hump right here. You can see that little resistance area is put in at that 285 level. That's the area that you need to get above in order to take calls. All right. Now let's talk about how you take these calls and how you can kind of get involved with them. Obviously, I always say this. If it's within the first 5-10 minutes, I usually take the drive right out of it if it triggers. But you got to be careful. Market nowadays is not getting that follow through right out of the gates. So you have to kind of think twice and see what the market's actually going to do. If we get an aggressive sell-off and it's right out of the gates, then great, it will work. But you have to kind of be careful. If it's within the first 10-15 minutes, obviously the generic rule is if it comes into this trigger area, I take it right there at that trigger and I take that ride down in order to take those quick profits and get that accelerated premium juice. Now, if obviously a few hours has gone by and price action slowly coming down, you have to wait for a break, retest, and you get in on the retest and take advantage of the move further down. All right. Another scenario that I like to talk about, let's say if the stock pushes all the way, let's say if the stock pushes, out of the open all the way up here, and then in a matter of maybe 10-15 minutes, this thing just plummets all the way down, right? You have to ask yourself, the stock was sitting at around 290. It came all the way down to 280, lost $10 of its value. What are the chances that if this breaks, you're going to buy puts right here and you're going to get another $10 move, right? That's an aggressive move down. You have to wait for some sort of consolidation to take place before you take advantage of further moves down. But the chances of this actually going higher are a lot more likely than further down, because it's already lost such a significant move from 290 all the way down to 280. Okay, so you understand where the stock is as a whole before you get involved in the trade as well. All right, now we've gone through everything that I wanted to talk about. Again, if you guys are still here, go ahead and smash that like button. Now, if you guys have some questions about some tickers you guys want me to go over, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're thinking of day trading, are you looking at calls or puts? And are you looking to either swing trade or day trade? Give me more info so I know what you're looking at. That way I can establish what you're thinking and kind of help you guys out. AFRM day trade put below 2145 for a gap fill. So let's take an AFRM for a gap fill. Let's see, under 2145. So I think the gap fill you're referring to, wow, that's big. The gap fill you're referring to is this little gap right here, if I'm not mistaken, right? From 2120 to 1950. So let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame. Puts below 2145. So 2145 is a far way down. You know, and it goes back to saying what I just talked about right before we got into this. From 21 to 2140, you're gonna have about a $3 drop. At that point, is it safe to buy puts? You're really gonna have to wait to see if price action pulls down and then kind of consolidates into some sort of a bear flag before taking the next leg down. Maybe then it will be worth it taking the put side at 2140, but not so if this is gonna just drop and then come to 2140 and then you buy puts here without a pattern, then this thing kind of shoots back up before coming back down. So yeah, your trigger point is not bad. I would probably wait for 2120, like the bottom of that candle, in order to get that gap fill to take place. But again, it's too far from trigger right now. You'd have to wait for price action to pan out before you get involved in those. On average, how quickly does QQ take to fill gaps, or average move in a day? So I mean, it all depends. It depends on volatility, the Qs and the SPY. Those are all things that, you know, have different ranges, different ATRs, and ATR is obviously the average true range. But you know, the ATR on the Qs on average is a $10 move. I mean, and calculating from the last 14 days, I should say. So usually it's a $10 move. Let's say we open here. A $10 move would bring you down to about 275, right? So pretty close to that 276 level. If we open right here and we yank, your $10, which is the average true range of the Qs, sits at around 277. So can it fill that gap? Yes. You know, if it opens at 280, it can very easily fill that gap. Because it has an average true range of around $10. And every stock has its own average true range. So to answer your question, yes, it could fill that gap today. NVAX haven't moved at all yesterday's, despite SPY and the Q's movement. NVAX day trade to the upside. Let's take a look. On the 15-minute time frame, looks like it's putting in some resistance right here at this area. 53.20, 53.50. Let's take a look at the daily. So you got a pretty decent flag as well forming right here. I think 53.50 would be your trigger point, right? And then you can kind of push it into this pocket up here, 53.50 area. You know, with relative strength essentially. But needs to get above that area. You can see it's kind of it's hitting this resistance area and selling off. So maybe the next break at this resistance can really send it up into that 56 area. So keep an eye on it over the 53.50 level. UPST day trade call above 53.20 for a gap fill. UPST has been in a gap fill for a few days now. Obviously, the gap fill started at 38 bucks. Starting to see some topping wicks here. Volume is increasing. You mentioned 53.20 for a gap fill. 53.20 again. We're back into that situation where it's too far up, right? You're way too far up for the stock to take the move all the way up here, and then you take calls up here. You know, you're coming into a situation where the move is already extended. So let's take a look at the ATR on UPST. The ATR is 9, right? I haven't touched much on ATR, but ATR, you can find the ATR on Finwiz on a stock, and it's the average true range. Okay, so let's say the ATR is 950. So take a look at this. 950 comes to about maybe right here. Okay, 56.99. So it's got the potential to push. I mean, the ATR will technically say it's got room to go to around 57. But again, I would much rather you wait for the push into this area of resistance, consolidation take place, and then you can take advantage of that push possibly towards that 57, which then it completes the average true range of around $9 that it does have. Okay. Now let's see if it did that yesterday. Yeah, yesterday it got about 960, right? The day before, let's take a look at the day before, at around $8, right? So it does have the possibility to push $9. So just wait for consolidation under that 53.20 in order for you to take calls towards that 57. Cost for day trade put side. All right, let's take a look at cost. I want to take a look at the daily chart as well. Let me zoom out some more. So cost, we know where we're sitting. We got to look to the left for some support. We have some support right here. We have some decent support right here, some support right here. Okay, so let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame. All right, cost for puts, perfect. So for me, for you to get under puts, you have to clear yesterday's lows, or at least this 427. If you get under those, then you can look for that 420 area and then 412. But first and foremost, you gotta clear at least 427 or 424.50 in order to get involved. Don't just buy puts blindly out of the open, because it could be put in a situation where it's gonna push into this resistance area before seeing some toppings and selling pressure and then rolling over. Okay, so either wait for resistance to look for weakness to buy puts, or wait for that 425 level to break, and then you can kind of buy puts on that one. Tesla day trade. Tesla. Tesla was good. I was paying attention to it. The only thing is it's gapped down towards the 680 already in the pre-market, or 690. So I'm not really interested in this one. For a day trade, you have to wait to see how we act under this 696 area. If we end up panning out and possibly maybe put in some sort of a rising wedge, or a double top, but then you can look to take advantage of it. If it opens up here and starts putting in a double top, and then take advantage of that double top for the move down. But it does have room to push into that 680 area. Now, why do I say the 680? That's your next pivot low right here at around 680. That's where you're going to see some support. Okay, I would have liked for this thing to kind of open up around where it was trading around, so we can take that aggressive move under the 700. Take advantage of the put into the 680, but still you're seeing resistance from yesterday's lows right now. As long as we remain under that, look for a reversal pattern, look for a bearish pattern to get involved, and then you can take the puts down to that side. AMD put / short under 93 or call long over 96 day trade. Let's take a look. AMD short under 93. Yeah, I like that 93 trigger. That's fine. 93 is fine. Aggressive move up. First bounce right here. Bounce again. So 93 to the downside looks good to me. Perfect. Long over 96. Let's take a look at 96. So 96 again. This one I'm not too ecstatic about. You know, you have some wicks right here that can get involved in your way. You got some wicks right there and ultimately right there. So over 96, you could push 97, 97.50, but that's where you're going to see a lot of selling pressure. Lots of overhead on it. on the upside, and not so much resistance or support on the downside. So the downside move is the easier move for me, and that's kind of what I would pay attention to if it does roll over under the 93. All right, guys, if you're still here, go ahead and smash that like button. Let me go to Roblox. Not sure what you want to do with Roblox. Again, it just says Roblox, please, so I don't know what that means. But to me, Roblox is not something I want to trade today. After that aggressive push up yesterday, it dumped. It seems like every time it pushes, it dumps. It pushes, it dumps. Pushes, it dumps. So you know, possibly I'll wait to see if it pushes again into that 3370 area, maybe even that 34 area, and then see if we're going to see some selling pressure come into this. It's having a hard time above that 34 area. It keeps dumping every time it gets there. But the chart is very erratic, up, down, up, down, up, down. So I'll pay attention to it, but there's no clear triggers for me on this one. The chart is just too sideways and too choppy for me to get involved. Nvidia next week, 200 call swings for a run up before earnings, swings, run ups into earnings. Those really have absolutely nothing in common. If you're trying to anticipate earnings, it's a straight gamble, and there's really nothing to look at. And you said it right there. For a run up into earnings, a run up is an anticipation move. You know, I don't even want to look at it because my opinion doesn't really matter. It's just, it is what it is. It is what you said. It's a run up into earnings and anticipation type of move. So just put money that you're able to watch go to zero if that does not happen. How to identify price level? You have to take a look at in areas that you see a lot of, you know, resistance at. So for example, let's go to, I don't know, let's go back to an easier chart possibly. That wasn't a good one. Let's go to Tesla. So an area of right here. So for example, you're seeing lots of resistance right here, right here, right here. That can be an area where you say, okay, this area right here is an area of, you know, selling pressure. That's where you're seeing a lot of selling. And on the other side, you know, if you're seeing a lot of support or candles kind of pushing up like that, then you're going to say that's an area of support, right? That's kind of how you have to look at it. You have to see how many times you're seeing rejection at a certain price, and then draw a range essentially, or a box. You know, sometimes boxes are a lot easier to put in because what they do is they give you an area that you can take a look at, right? This area is an area of resistance where a lot of selling pressure is taking place, right? This area, for example, is, where's it? This area is an area of buying pressure, right? That's where you're seeing a lot of buying pressure. Ranges and boxes are a lot easier to deal with than actual price levels, especially if you're a newer trader. Is Datadog good for short? D-Dog, I think that's the ticker. D-Dog. Possibly under 84.70. Yeah, that could definitely be a good one there. All right, so guys, I got to get back into the Discord. It is 9 a.m. Remember, every Thursday I do go live here to try to help you guys out as much as I can. If you have questions that I have missed, go ahead and drop it in the Discord or on Twitter. I'll answer every single one of you guys. And as always, thank you guys all for watching and tuning in. Remember,